Friends forever. It was a sunny summer morning at Pine Hollow, and Clara was busy packing her backpack for a much-anticipated hiking trip. The destination was a rugged trail deep in the countryside, far from their suburban neighborhood. She carefully organized her supplies, ensuring she had snacks, water, a flashlight, and a first aid kit, double-checking everything to avoid forgetting any essentials. She slung the backpack over her shoulder and headed to her car parked in the driveway. Max, her golden retriever, jumped excitedly into the passenger seat as soon as she opened the door. His tail wagged furiously, and his bright eyes gleamed with anticipation. It was as if he understood they were heading out on yet another grand adventure together. To Clara, Max wasn't just her pet. He was her inseparable companion and the heart of all her explorations. Clara had found Max as a puppy 3 years earlier, abandoned near the edge of the woods. From the moment their eyes met, the bond was instant. Max was there for every scraped knee, every late-night fear, and every moment of joy. He understood her in ways no one else could. Clara started the car, and with the hum of the engine, they drove off. The sun beamed down on the highway as they sped through the open roads, the breeze flowing through the cracked window. Max's ears flapped in the wind, his eyes squinting with excitement. After a while, the smooth pavement gave way to a narrow, winding road, hugging the hills as they ventured deeper into the countryside. The trees grew taller and the houses less frequent, signaling their approach to the secluded trail. The road soon turned into a rough, unpaved dirt path, bumping the car slightly with each turn. Clara navigated it carefully, the tires crunching over gravel and dust. At the end of the dirt road, she parked the car beside a small clearing where the trailhead awaited. The smell of pine filled the air as Clara grabbed her backpack and gave Max a reassuring pat on the head. Together, they stepped out into the wild unknown. They began the trail, the path winding through towering trees and thick underbrush. The air was fresh with the scent of pine, and the sun peeked through the branches, casting dappled shadows on the ground. Max, with his usual enthusiasm, led the way, his tail wagging as he bounded ahead, occasionally looking back to make sure Clara was following. The trail was peaceful, offering glimpses of wildflowers and patches of sunlight that seemed to dance on the forest floor. After a while, they stopped for a quick break on a large, flat rock that overlooked a small stream. Clara pulled out her snacks, enjoying a bite of granola and sipping some water. Max eagerly accepted a treat and a refreshing drink of water from his portable bowl. They both took a moment to relax, soaking in the tranquility of the forest. As they continued, the sounds of birds chirping and the faint rush of a distant waterfall filled the air, enhancing the sense of serenity that surrounded them. They walked for another 30 minutes or so, the forest growing even quieter as they ventured deeper into the woods. The air felt cooler, and the shadows lengthened as the sun began its descent. Max, always alert, suddenly perked up, his ears standing straight. He let out a low growl and stopped in his tracks. Clara's heart skipped a beat. She glanced around, trying to sense what had caught Max's attention. "What is it, Max?" she asked, her voice a mix of concern and curiosity. She scanned the area, her eyes darting over the trees and underbrush, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. The peaceful silence of the forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting. A rustling noise came from the bushes ahead, breaking the stillness of the forest. Clara froze, her breath catching in her throat. A large wild boar emerged from the thicket, its eyes gleaming in the dimming light. The boar seemed startled, its body tense and alert, sizing them up. The creature stepped forward slowly, its hooves crunching the leaves beneath it as it let out a low growl. Clara's instincts told her to stay calm, but her heart raced as she took a cautious step back, not wanting to provoke the animal. However, as the wild boar continued to move closer, Max did not hesitate. He stepped forward with determination, his body lowering into a protective stance, placing himself squarely between Clara and the boar. His fur bristled, and he let out a deep, warning growl, daring the animal to come any closer. The air grew thick with tension as the two animals locked eyes, both unyielding, neither willing to back down. Clara held her breath, hoping the standoff would end without escalation. The boar let out a sharp snort and pawed the ground, feeling threatened. Clara quickly realized they were in danger. Without warning, the boar charged at them, moving quickly toward them. Max barked loudly and sprang into action. He leaped at the boar, crashing into its side and pushing it off course. Clara quickly moved out of the way, avoiding the fight. The forest was filled with noise as Max and the boar struggled, each fighting to protect what they cared about. Tears streamed down Clara's face as Max and the boar clashed, a flurry of movement and sound. She screamed, helpless, unable to do anything but watch as Max fought fiercely to protect her. Max was heavily injured, his barks grew weaker, but he kept fighting until he forced the boar to retreat into the darkness of the forest, his body battered and bloodied. Clara rushed to Max's side, her heart pounding. He lay on the ground, his breathing shallow and uneven. His golden fur was matted with blood, and Clara could see that he was heavily injured. Despite the pain, Max had kept fighting until the boar disappeared into the forest, never giving up. Clara gently stroked his fur, her tears mixing with the dirt on her face. "Max, no, please, you're going to be okay," she sobbed, cradling him in her arms. Max looked up at her, his eyes filled with love. He licked her hand weakly as if to say goodbye. Max's tail wagged one last time before he closed his eyes, his body going limp in Clara's arms. She held him tightly, her tears falling onto his soft fur. The forest around them seemed to pause, the sounds of nature fading into silence, as if mourning the loss of her loyal friend. Clara's heart broke, knowing that Max had given everything to protect her. Clara retraced her steps through the forest, carrying Max gently in her arms. Her heart ached with every step as she made her way back to the car. When she finally reached it, she carefully laid Max on the rear seat, taking one last moment to say goodbye. She started the journey back home, but the sight of the empty front passenger seat made her break into tears. It had always been Max's spot, and now it was unbearably vacant. The silence in the car was deafening, and Clara felt the weight of her loss more than ever. That evening, Clara buried Max under the big oak tree in their backyard, the spot where he loved to nap in the shade. The memories of their adventures together flooded her mind as she gently laid him to rest. She placed his favorite toy beside him, a simple reminder of the joy he brought to her life. With trembling hands, Clara carved a small plaque, "Max, my best friend, my hero." As she stood there, her heart heavy with grief, she whispered a final goodbye, knowing that Max would always have a special place in her heart. Days turned into weeks, but Clara never forgot Max. She often sat by the oak tree, talking to him as if he could still hear her. The pain in her heart never fully faded, but she found comfort in knowing that Max had loved her enough to protect her at any cost. Each moment with him, even the hardest ones, was a reminder of their bond. And in her dreams, Max still came to her. His golden fur shone brightly, his tail wagging as if nothing had changed. He reminded her that love and friendship transcend even the greatest of losses, and that the memories they shared would live on in her heart forever. And that's the end of the story. Hope you learned something new. Thanks for watching.